Sanje ki Japden Bobo Sanje ki Kusong Tosum Yene Yenji Juba de Lang to Sing Gu Yene and Sanje Yugu and Chig Chen Sambo Sumja Sani that Bish Sambo Giju Jamba good in the Shures, just not Sanje Gu, Jayon in the Su and Zia Chik Yulia, Gaideki, Mili Shanlia, and Chik Sim the Tiki Tetu to Sanje Gu in the Sieta. And the Sanje Sung said in Dendelia, as Sanje. Mi mangbo chigi ane chigi tiwa mitawa liya sanji siya chigi tiwa shubi ina sanji ki ane dusi keji chigi ya ane chigi chasan chigi chigi ane semja liyan chasan chigi dus chini liyan gyun na ya ki dindi sungu yin dindi shiyo res siya dindi zada sanji sung di bimba sebi da yun dindi shiyo res ya chiga tu dus chini ane kasi shiyo ri dani.
Good evening. We were looking last time at the qualities of the founder teacher. The teacher's the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. Of the three, we looked at the first two. The qualities of a Buddha's body includes that whomever just sees the Buddha, joy arises in their mind, let alone meets or encounters the Buddha. This will lead to the joy arising in beings. And in terms of many qualities of the speech of a Buddha, what we saw briefly last week is how in a single utterance, a Buddha can answer various questions of a limitless number of beings. So these were just a brief presentation of the many qualities of a Buddha's body and speech.
And there's Cavalry. Sanji Ka Do Sutra, Sajorva, Do Sajorva, the next Sanji Sung said, there's Cavalry as this one. Sanji Sung said, Ka Katang so. Because Mare. The order says you are the Gassia, Katang to say. The order, gave you order. Kajikatan, Sigura, de la Calabar, the indicated Casidiro order said Rod. Gave you Gary, says your water.
So there are three words that we should look at in the context of the Buddha's speech that have slightly differing meanings. So the first is that of orders or instructions. The second is that of sutras, and the third then is that of speech itself.
Yeah. Sanje range shene patu sima che sonya jorwa cikna to amchol jagoya jorwa dela sanje sung sigore.
The first term to look at of these three is the Tibetan is sung, which is the honorific word for speech. So when this is used, it is specifically referring to when the Buddha is talking and others are hearing. So Geshe said just before this, these three terms we'll find in the texts, but they are used differently, and that's what he's bringing out now. So the first term is speech, another will be instructions, and the third will be sutra.
Da sanje ge dosya da sanje ge kasya de ge inji meji bane shene sung go go mare. Bane shene sanje ge shene pa sung ya chu sung ya di sanje ka ya ka re sanje sung re do re sung ga re je de garde. Ka re do re sung re sanje shene ba sung ya chu sung ya jorwa kan ba ge sung ya jorwa di sung di sanje sung re sanje ka re Sanji dore se la corta sunga. And dambo dini
So of these three, if something is so this word again sung, so the speech of a Buddha, this can also be a sutra as well as an instruction. So these that's two alternative words that of instruction or order, that and sutra can be used interchangeably with the word for speech.
난 상지기 진이 랩제 상지 코롱기 마송바제 상지 진이 랩데 셴디 셴다기 최송여 저러와 네 셰르님 보사 셰르님 보다 보디 셰르부게야 주 제네시마 레나와들와 디상이 투 띵게징이 진이 랩바래 제가 디 셰르님 보다 보디 상지 까레 도레 상지 송마레서 셴이 송베게 송디 마레서 제가 도레시고 도레 까레스.
So whilst if something, the word for speech is used, we can also use the word for instruction or sutra. It's not necessarily the case with the other two, because where this word for speech is used, it necessarily refers to the Buddha himself talking and others hearing. But if we take something like the Heart Sutra, the Heart Sutra is a sutra. It can also be called an order or an instruction. But this is not speech of the Buddha, because it is a sutra that came about due to the blessings of the Buddha. Hence, it's a conversation. The Heart Sutra is a conversation between Chenrezig and Shariputra. The Buddha himself wasn't involved in that dialogue. Therefore, it's not called speech, but it is called a sutra and can also be called an instruction.
디네기 다 그저 디네게 상지기 시에네 마송바제 디멘베 상지 진일라비 토네 최송야 망보여와 디쳐서 안에 상지기 안에 도레 상지 까레스 안에 상지 시에네 송비고 송마레 송세대 인지미지 시에네 송와지고 거래 송고 당저기 개발로 디지 지당한주다 디네게 개발치고래.
So there are many other sutras which came about due to the blessing of the Buddha, but not delivered by means of his own speech, like the Heart Sutra being one. So such sutras are, of course, suitable to be called sutras or instructions or orders, but not to be called speech. So that's just starting with tonight with a general point. I don't know how well this comes across in translation, because these words may well not be translated in a differing manner or in a way that's explicitly clear.
도이다 가이나 상지 송인고게나 데네 안에 셰르니버데 상지 송레베 상지 송요 말디 셰르부게 샤슈엔 젠데즈 마송교르 와스 제디오딜리그와 제네자다 셰르니버데 안에 상지 송만다네 상지가 말레베 상지게 안에 도 말레베스 데니기 다 직제버 제베나 지산델리아 캬바 지산 상지 송이네 셰네 송바 송딜라고 송세데네 실고고레 가세데 상지기 시에네 송바디에 까레 도레 안에 디멘비가 상이요 시에네 마송하지 진일랍비게가 망보여라 디차산 최 망보여 디차산 도레 까레 이나 상이요 송마레스 지산 시레니보데 도레 안에 까레 상이요 송레 마레 시캬와 가와스카요 마레스 오두시에나 가서 예와체야기 두시용고레 지산 디네기 디워르다나 상이데 안에 시레니보데 시리비게 야슈 엔제네 마송교르 와스 and do marves and do mine dore like do has to like do was then dore do was and do in the san yu sung was and san yu sung yo marwas and the niki jeba che junguru wa jisan jeba che do non do shin kebatin the chegor hesine.
So there you may well in your reading come across a discussion as to whether the Heart Sutra or any other similar sutra is suitable to be called the speech of the Buddha, because the sutras such as the Heart Sutra were not speeches by the Buddha, but rather came about through the blessings of the Buddha, and in this particular sutra, it was a conversation between Shariputra and Chenrezig. So what we see from this is that a sutra does not necessarily have to be spoken by the Buddha, but it's sufficient for it to have come about through the blessings of the Buddha.
Yeah. And the Sanyi Kimbe Yunden Ma, and Gu Yunden, Sung Yunden, she's that Sanyi, and the Kimbe Yunden Ma, she had it.
So of the three qualities of the Buddha, we've looked at two. We looked last week at the qualities of the Buddha's body and the Buddha's speech. So tonight we'll come to the third, that of the Buddha's mind. So in the handout, it's in the top of page 121, and in the published book, nearer at the bottom of page 103.
That's Sanyi Tu Yunden, she wrote that Sanyi Tu Yunden, Gusong, Tu Sum, and that Tu Yunden. Tu Yunden, Song Yudelia, Kimbe Yunden, and Zio Yunden, such on to Sine, that Tu Yunden, the Pakeva, each and the Kimbe Yunden, and Zio Yunden, such.
So we see that the excellent qualities of the Buddha's mind has two divisions. So reading from Lama Tsongkhapa, this has 2 points: the excellent qualities of his exalted knowing and the excellent qualities of his loving kindness, or more accurately, or better translated as his compassion.
The Kimbe Yunden, Ma Song Yude, that's Sanyi Kimbe Yunden, Ganesha, that Tamponi, Sheja Jidawa, and Jineba Tamje La Tedu, Guru Shaba, that Kemba, Toba Mingawa, Jubes, Ne, Sheja Tadala, Kabik, and Kabigis, because Sheja Tadala, to be Kimbe, Kabi, Dele Shemba Namgi, Ni Sheja Gachela, Sheba Gachua, Gachua, Makaba, knows.
Looking at the first of the two outlines, the excellent qualities of his exalted knowing. Since all objects of knowledge, ultimate and conventional, are engaged by the sage's unobstructed exalted knowing, like a myrobalan fruit placed in the palm of his hand, the sage's exalted knowing covers all objects of knowledge. However, others' limited knowing cannot cover the vast extent of objects to be known.
Yunden kind of sure is in that can you de la carriers and Jidawa Jinia passes. Shiji Jidawa Jinia, Dohoya, Hakoya, you de la carriers and Jidawa Jinia. Jidawa sit on the Tomba, Damia, Tomba in the share, and Tomba in the chair. Jinia Baledu, the Kunzubiche, Tomba Yime, Kunzubiche, Tamje, and Jezadi can't destroy the Hako, Jezan Sheja Sidish Hako, Sheja de la Carrios, Jidawa Tomba in Korchik, and that Tomba in Kunzubiche, and the Tamjiri, Eser.
All objects of knowledge can be divided into these two parts, or two types, those which are ultimate and those which are conventional. Ultimate refers solely to emptiness or reality, and then conventional refers to all other existence, everything else that exists. So therefore, all objects of knowledge have these two divisions. The nature of how conventional objects exist, that's the ultimate, and then the conventional objects of knowledge.
And in Jidawa Labido, Tomba in Leather, Chedamje, Rashi, Tomba in said it, the Echerash, Jigmato, Jigmato, that don't you connect Kabashamachenko, Rashi to be Tomba Chigare. That Geneva said the Bay, Yachimbo, that Geneva said the Chik Kunzubi, and Kansage, Dame, Baskaza, Dame, Rabat, and Zawa said, Dame, Balshaman, Mita, Padasad, and Pine Manzuki, Suchinki, Chik. Namena swear about the Sujian. Sujian Benazi, Xing, Da, Sata, Doda, Lung said, Dimi, Dutin, the Tashan Tower to Tajik, Mangbu, and the Yaji, and the Simjian, Gazori, that so you can see in Jimida, Dundroda, Yawa, Idala, so but come Sumgi, Simjian, then I managed to become the Zivin, Dundran, and the Jig Mida, Mambo, Cheshire Mambo, and the Jig Mambo, she would you there, but and the men began lay Gunjeta, the new court tension to some Tavan Bay, catching with you. Just I didn't catch him a tam, Jessan Yigi, once from the King or Rachel, the King or is.
The ultimate object of knowledge refers to just a single object, and that is the emptiness of inherent existence. So it's rather a limited category. But the other category, that of conventional, this is extensive. So everything that is permanent or impermanent, everything that is comprised of form or of matter, all beings within the lower realms or the higher realms, including the varying gods and so forth, all of these are included within the conventional. Or another way to express it, everything that has come about in dependence and causes and conditions. So the category that is ultimate is just the single expression of the emptiness of all phenomena, emptiness of inherent existence. But the conventional, this is extensive.
Benebela and Ganis King Kenaro, Ganis King or Bedu Shadu, and Gurura says. The Gurura said, on the Shingri Chung and the draw humiliating, rather than Negi, Ben Baba Joe chanting the eating and the Negi Chung here. Then me and the main repeat and got it, then again, the Gurura said, the bit bitty. Just other did you cup a bit in this channel. 미사상의 유효가 통디보이자 하고 의 베티샤고로 유루자 유루자데 락텔바 락텔 라버가 두시는 샤바는 차상 통도거래서 따디 차상 통고로 받아가 차상 통고로 와서 제가 통투고로 와 변에 강보로 보시나 나도 두스타데 강보 듄디 통을 잡도 통바로 와 잡통바로 나도 미인나 두스테들이가 듄디 통을 잡도 통부도 와 난 잡론 따이는 잡 통을 듄 통부도 와 차상 통투부도 와 제가 듀르라 세데 데니게 샤지랑 두스타디가도 초사상 통투고 그래서 제가 세부 빼원수 세부 슈 초사상 통투고 그래서 비디나신 상기기 최세디 캠바디 시제게 비지다와다 진입에 최 가내지나 차상디 통안에 원숨도 캠투고 그래서 무슨 거래
Then an illustration is given of how a Buddha engages with the objects of knowledge. It says, are engaged by the sages unobstructed, exalted knowing, like a myrobalan fruit, or you'll see in the notes, another term is used, and anakalaya. So apparently the myrobalan is just the category of fruit with one illustration, being that of the analaki. So what it refers to is a medicinal fruit that is grown in India, that is found in India, and is used in both Ayurvedic and Tibetan medicine. And it's a fruit, one of the types, the analaki, which is one type, and is likened to a gooseberry in that it's got a very thin skin. And you can see a very thin skin that you can see through and see the actual flesh of the fruit. So a Buddha can observe all objects of knowledge clearly in the same way that we would see a fruit in the palm of our hand. In particular, fruit with such a thin skin whereby nothing is hidden. You could see into it. So this is likened, for example, our limitation in terms of sight. We can see a front of a building, but we cannot see the rear of the building. Or we can see a person, but we cannot see what's hidden behind the person. A Buddha doesn't have any such obstruction. A Buddha can see all phenomena, all conventional phenomena, as well as the ultimate way of abiding. All are clearly known to the Buddha.
챈바 지산 되네게 디나신 진데 원숨게 간좀미 원숨도 통화 나신 차상 통화 나신 상이기 챈바 토바 명화와 주비에서 토바 명화와래도 지산 판이 때뒤 현대제가 되버는 토되 버와 지 토바 어디 마신 버네 제바제 디하 먹어는 될로 토바서 그러다 먼저 남가질 파조디 고지 신지 가신 디 토지 조투고 말와 디나신 먼저 삼다도 어디 하 먹어는 디 토바리 하고 먹어 지산 상이로 토바 명화와래 되네 토여요 말해서 제가 가리 이나 개용 긴고 레제로다 토범미고 주바리 진짜 상이기다 투기 연대 시시기 연대 캠베 연대들라 데네시 긴고 레제로.
So as clearly as we directly perceive something, a Buddha perceives all phenomena. There's nothing that is hidden or obscured to a Buddha's exalted wisdom. So here we should understand the term knowing and realizing as having the same meaning. If you know something, you can realize it, but you cannot realize something that you do not know. So therefore, the Buddha knowing all phenomena means all phenomena are realized. The understanding that the Buddha has, the knowledge the Buddha has, the realization the Buddha has, is completely unmistaken in relation to everything.
토바 명화와 시대에서 상지 캠발라 마켄에게 바르시지 힌디 요마레서 다 토바 딘디 요마 메바서다 가르인의 켄투고레서 만조인다다 가르신 삼다디 마신바디게 마셰바디게 토지 킹고마라 마셰바디 가디고르와 하모와 삼노디 가디고르와 지사디 상지라 마켄바 하모고와디 메반자 토바디 바가야디 메반자 디니 명화와서디 메바레서 오래 지사 디 메반자에 킹고래 제로다 가야디 메나 킹고르바다 톡바마 톡바 말이야 토구어레스네 바로도 가셔 디 톡바시고와 제자다 톡바시 디 토야마 상얘기 봐 유거 삼다나 직 마신 바 가한데 요 말레스 매반자다 킹고래 제래.
Again, I just repeated what he said a moment ago, because I made an error, so I'll just correct that. So where I used the word realized, that wasn't what Genda said. He rather was saying obstructed. So just that, and what I said in the previous segment, everything if you know something, you realize something, ignore that. So what Genda is saying is just what the text says here, that the knowledge of a Buddha is unobstructed. And then Genda earlier gave the illustrations of how for ourselves so much is obstructed and we can't see what's something behind something else. A Buddha faces no such obstruction, not just from the sense consciousnesses, but from the mental consciousnesses too. All is known, nothing is obscured even to a slight degree. And so therefore there is nothing that can obstruct the knowledge of a Buddha. A Buddha is free of all obscuration, and therefore all is known.
시자 유 가능시네야 내가 투비기 캠비 캡그레스도 투비 캠비 또 그래서 그러다. 근데 때는 안도 두시 이제 마뉴얼을 좀 와서나 때는 잘라줘 미주에나 잘라제디 안에 게마도면은 이 잘라디 미차상 캡고 말와 가서 당고 말와 미겔 당고더 니라려 니르제 말하고 디나젠다 유 가제 려베나 상이기 캠비 파다들 유가제나 차상이야 당고를 캡고를 세대 캡고를 당세 다 갑들 당세 되가지고 가르고서 상이 또고를 로디 상이 캠비 유간데시나디 또고를 마도베 상이 디마도베 최디레세 제일하고 말했습니다. 시오도 시자 타다라 투비 캠비 캡시도 시자 타다 시자 또 유간데시나야 내려야 상이기 투비기 캠비기 파 또고를 마도 디 디스도 그래 딘도 말해서 제샤야지요 말해서 시유리다 시자 타다라 투비 캠비 캡기서 디던다 캡세다 캡타한테 가려서
The sentence concludes with, the sage's exalted knowing covers all objects of knowledge. So covers, or the Tibetans literally pervades all objects of knowledge, which means there is nothing that is unknown. So for ourselves, we come into this world not knowing too much, but we gain an education, we learn a lot, and we come to many things that were unknown to us become known. But there is still a vast amount across an extensive array of fields of knowledge that to us are completely unknown. So if we were delving into studying a text, could perhaps learn a large portion of it, but to know everything, every single page and all the meanings, that's unlikely. So in this way, we can see for us, our knowledge is not all pervasive. There are many obstructions to our knowledge. But for a Buddha, there is no such obstruction. The knowledge of a Buddha pervades everything that can be known.
kimbe 캡세다 kimbe 옹송도 도고래 세도나디 고고래다 셰샤취 간레신에 차상 상이기 옹송도 킹고래 도고래 마도 상이 옹송도 마kimbe 취지에 하여 말해서 그러다.
So now we come to the word realized. So what this meaning of this end of the sentence, the sage's exalted knowledge covers all objects of knowledge, means that everything that can be known is known, and how it is known is directly realized. In other words, there's no veil of lack of clarity relating to anything that can be known. It is all known directly.
안델레 셴바 남기니 시자 개체라 셰바 개춘웨 마캬바이노스. 다시 델레 셴바 시데다 상기레 셴비게다 베네 저기 치료비게 캐바이나 던바이나라 낭비게라 랑기 다좀바다 자주선바다 캐바 간시네 원 상기레 셴비게 캐바 간시 임베네 데소기 예 아니 콘소 시자디 개체라지 고수 셰바데 개춘고래 진짜 아니 마캬바래 시자 강 여바 시대 차상 캡고 말이지 다 차상 시자 강 하고 또 또에디 차상 공습도 또 두고 말해 또 두고 하세 마도 발라 그래 쟤.
Lama Tsongkhapa continues, however, others' limited knowing cannot cover the vast extent of objects to be known. Others here we should understand as referring to great beings such as arhats and Arya Bodhisattvas. So these are remarkable beings who have achieved a radical transformation of their mind. But yet there are still veils of obscuration for them. There are still things that are to be clearly, completely known. So therefore, they cannot compare to their wisdom cannot compare to the wisdom or the exalted knowledge of a Buddha. Because for a Buddha, everything is completely or perfectly, completely known, and it's directly realized. So everything is known without any veil of hindrance. Whereas for great beings, in comparison, their knowing is limited when compared to the Buddha.
가사 다음에 봐세게 도고 말해와 다지 코스카르스네 가사 다음에 봐세 콘조 가사 다 케링고와 진당은 낭비게 시작이 시야도 나중에 롤라 가사 다음에 봐 최담시 라시 주베 동발에 세 디스시에도 치료베 캐바티기 아니 데소야 도고 말해 제가 델라 마캬바레 마도바세 마캬바세 마도바레 제가 셰바디 겨충샤 시자 연대네 마하라데 시자데 마에 가르스네 차산을 마켜봐. 최대한 하시기 말도 동바인다. 강사 다음에 봐 마도바세 될라 마켜봐래세. 안디나신 먼저 제라마와다 좀 되어온데 제베네 아주 낭배상 이비 제라마와다 되려봐다. 내 셈잠바 우마랑 유발로 만지 우마 텐유바 만지기 최담제 라신 주베 동바이디 도고 말와 당한 텐유베 계시 동바이 도고 말 지난 제지 개바시 제데이나 되니게 마켜봐.
So this term, object of knowledge, this just talk as a translator. Objects of knowledge is just a very literal translation, better understood as that which can be known. This objects of knowledge or that which can be known. So now to come to Agenla's saying. So in our world, there are and have been many remarkable beings, great beings who have done a lot of good in the world, and beings also with remarkable inner qualities. So if we think of non-Buddhist teachers of a doctrine other than the Buddha, their their teachings, what they've presented, has done a lot of good for beings. However, to those great teachers, there are still things which are unknown. There are still veils or obscurations in their knowledge. For example, they assert that something that does not exist to exist. This is that they assert there is a self-existent self. So therefore, selflessness is completely obscure to them. It's unknown to them. Such great beings whose teachings bring a lot of good in the world, they do not know all that can be known. For example, the presentation on selflessness. But this isn't something restricted just to non-Buddhists. Amongst the many great teachers within Buddhism, those who hold views that are not of the Prasangika, so those remarkable beings who have the views of the Svatrantika or the Chittamatrans or the Sautantikas of Abhashikas, whilst these are remarkable beings, their knowledge has a veil to them, is veiled or is obscured in that they have yet to realize emptiness. There is an obstruction to their knowledge.
다 초람바 다 소소기 볼라데 예베 전주자 파발라야 되니게 마도베 마kim바 몽부요레스 네 마도에 예산이기 연대 산이기 지게 예 레긴데라 소바 차신 차발라서 마도베 몽부용거레스 안단 되네 연다 전주선바 사주보와 되게 마도베 취지 여르베스네 다 전주선바 사주와 시대다 산기로치네 차상 또 차간서 최고로와 전주선바 사주보 최 탐제 지다와 진이바 최 진이바 chen 긴고레스 이나야 원숨의 김마김바 먹고요. 그래서다. 제자다 상이기 최 함제 간지는 원숨의 긴고래. 라들 라반 나라 규르 샤반의 원숨 통하는 원숨 긴고래. 전유선바 토보 사주바 상기로 지금 사주바 내리는데 최 탐지 긴고할 때 이나 원숨의 마김바요. 그래서 제자 원숨의 마김바. 제자 원숨 캠바디 토되어 와다. 토야. 제자 토되어. 제자데 시제 캔데 야체제 마김바디 유예돼 버려서 제자 도시는 당한 중에 현시도 다시 남바이네 전주선바 서주발로 소바다 지속이야 쉐담 원숨 심마도 비게 되니게 요래 요래 제자谢谢 谢바디 연대디 똑바 또디 개충하지谢谢디 개체와지 차도야 제자디 상기마도 산지를 셴발라디 캠비연대는 매발에 해서다 Geshe Thubten Rabten 최 탐지 또 그래서 차상 또 그래서 Geshe Thubten 차상 또 그래서 이내 원숨도 또 맞도 와요 그래서 다 Geshe Thubten 다 Geshe Thubten 멤버 만실에 망부도나야 같이 마도바 연구를 내기를 차신 차와다 마도바 지신도 차와데 마도바 연구를 해제 전주선바 사주발레도 다 차상 두고 그래서 이내다 안디 가서 그런 юм체나 제버체네 юм체웅이 따라되는 또 사주 제거로 하자 제산다 최대 원숨도 마도바도 연구를 해서 원숨도 마도바 제산 마도바 이제 캠비 원숨 캠비 마차바레스 지도 캠바세 최대 원숨도비 원숨 캠비 원숨 캠바디 마차바레스 제산 그 원숨도 또 고야게 최하도요 그래서
So as bodhisattvas grow and develop as practitioners, they move through the grounds or through the paths of ordinary bodhisattvas, eventually entering into the paths and then the grounds of the Arya bodhisattvas. So as these remarkable beings, the bodhisattvas, grow and develop spiritually, ever more of what was unknown to them becomes known, or what was to be realized evermore is becoming realized. But for much of these training paths, these bodhisattvas, there is far more to be realized than has been realized. But as they move through the bodhisattva grounds, they are coming to realize ever more. However, so then when we think about, so what is the position of the 10th level bodhisattva, or the bodhisattva on the 10th ground. So these are the beings in the last period of their existence as an ordinary being, their last period as unenlightened beings. So for them, everything has been known, but not or realized, but not yet directly. It is a Buddha and a Buddha alone that can perceive all phenomena as clearly as we can see a piece of fruit in one's hand. It's only a Buddha who can perceive all phenomena directly, or realize all phenomena directly. Even the 10th ground bodhisattva has realized, whilst the 10th ground bodhisattva has realized all phenomena have yet to be realized directly. It's only a Buddha who has done this.
캡라기 큐레 셴바 탐제기 아니 시자코나 라바 라흐스 다디 돈다 다디 샤디 지바레 큐바시기 시시기 시자타다 캡라기 큐레 셴바 탐제기 시자코나 라바 라흐스.
And as Lama Tsongkhapa is prone to do, he then presents quotations as a source for what he has just stated. So looking at the first verse from Praise of the One Worthy of Praise, only your wisdom encompasses all objects of knowledge. For everyone else apart from you, some objects are yet to be known.
시자 타다라 캡기 시자 타다 온숨 두고레스 디소레 큐 바시기네 이시기세데 상예 코롱 결혼 지부기 결혼기 투기 이시기 시자 타다 네 간에시는 온숨 두고레스 캡라기스 근데 시자 근데 이디리 시간이 되게.
This is just what has been presented above. So look in the first two lines. Only your wisdom encompasses all objects of knowledge. So here Lama Tsongkhapa is stating, what's been quoted here by Lama Tsongkhapa asserts what was stated above. It's only for Buddhas that everything is realized directly. Everything that can be known is known without exception.
지게 람라 슈다 마슈다 되네게 캐바 간에시 임베 이나야 안에 켈레 셴바 캐바 되네게 간에시나 탐제기 아니 시자 코나 시데 시자 안최 탐제 켄모스네 켄마토바 안라 되네 켄고야기 또 호에게 라마 라요레스 라바 요레스 올라 라요레스 시제 켄비 켄마토바 라요레스.
The third and fourth line as just was finally presented in the last few sentences by Lama Tsongkhapa. For everyone else apart from you, some objects are yet to be known. So those who are not yet Buddhas, wherever they are in their spiritual journey, whether they've developed a mental path yet or not, or if they have developed a mental path, how developed that path may be, for all beings yet to attain a path or on the training paths, there are still objects to be known for them. A Buddha and a Buddha alone knows everything that can be known.
룽다 규어시 퀴기 투다 토밍아 시송바 더 삼바고사.
And Lama Tsongkhapa further quotes, Blessed One, all phenomena throughout time, in every aspect and place of origin, are objects of experience of your mind, like a myrobalan fruit in the palm of your hand. As regards phenomena, static or mobile, single or various, each distinct individual, your mind is obstructed from none of them, like the wind moving across the sky.
점된 뒤군 또배치 세대다 점된 얘기에서 세대 나 결혼을 긴 거라서 가르친 거라서 뒤숨도 또배치 세대다 대비기 뒤 냐마냐마 가르카르 중요면 대비기 쳐 가르시에나 나다위가 가르카르 요면에 안지 몽바나 가르카르 연구요면 차사데 뒤군 또배치 뒤숨도 또배치 세거 뒤군 지리 원다 다다다 몽바 탐제지 요하게 쳐다 그 탐제는 혈연기 캥겨 뉴숨 도배치 남군 중례 탐제니 세되다 근데 최 남군 중세대 중례 세되다 제부 귤레티는 중화세하다 되네게 아직 네 인비기 김체 디리에 따 김체 인비게 따당 아니 지금 김체나 따디게 중례에서 김체나 따 이러 김체 어디들 추요에서는 가르스는 추고 작작하고 고도 와서 추예비 김체 아니 디디 아니 대유비 매유비 김체 이제 최 가리나 디단 디인비 김체 대단 디마인비 김체 여러 받아 김체다 따세대 언디네 차사 다 디니기 아주 니수이 캐야게 세제 연된 또에게 니주 유비기 김체나 따라 되네 따 차사 킹거래 제래 대단 도시에 탐지 킹거 뒤숨도 또 배기 아니 최근에지 이내야 아니 김천다 따다 김천 차상 킹거래 해지래.
Okay, the first two lines, Blessed One, all phenomena throughout time. So this is a particular expression, translated correctly, and it refers to the three times. So everything that has happened, all that is happening right now, and all that will happen, this is known by the Blessed One, by the Buddha, in every aspect and place of origin. So this then refers to the second line, all the causes that have led to these particular results, as well as all the signs and reasons that establish phenomena. All this is known to the Buddha. There is nothing that is hidden from the wisdom of the Buddha.
나한테 중례 세대 중외내 세대 당한 저기 아주 제부디게 규텔했더니 중월에 중세기 네 세대 디스야 양 저기 시지 연된디게 디 캠바 김센 델했더니 캠바에서 하고 왔는데 하고 해야기 제부 중외내 세 중세디 제부 규let더니 중세다 제 윤제면에 델을 떼니 떼진 저와 중세저로 어디스 순고를 제사 떼진 저와 중세 중외내세 떼진 신 찍了对呢중와对지 중세게 네 신네 델을 떼니 용고를 내다 안 따다 김세 제사 캠바래서 저는 가시랑 저기 세디점이 캠바 아니 개왕아마 캠마도 봐 치마 캠마 가시다 세디다 개왕아마다 치마 캠나 내가 명아마 균용부지나 캠마도 봐안 치마지면 개와 치마 망고지나 캠마도 봐 되는 용어로 왔다 상계리야 개왕아명아메 가제 직디나라 망원바나 치마 간데스나 세 개와 디급수다 뒤숨 되네 뒤다대외 값도 간데시면 차사다 주외 내 따다 김센 땡진 니 강래 땡비기 땡사 땡비 내 아니 주중외 주 차상 킹고래 제다도나 디 킹고레스.
So staying with these two lines. So with the Blessed One, knowing all phenomena throughout time in every aspect and place of origin, what this comes down to is that because everything is known to a Buddha knows when a Buddha observes a result, those causes that led to the result, the multitude of causes leading to a result are known. Similarly, if when causes are accumulated, but the result is yet to come, that too is known. So whether causes were accumulated in this life or lives previous to this, the Buddha knows those causes. And what results are to follow, whether in this life or lives to come, that is known to the Buddha. So this then gives an idea of the expansiveness of a Buddha's knowledge compared to non-Buddhas.
Pedina Shinche, and the Kyu, Tugu, Julu, Guru, Sanyi, Tugu, Chetamje, Onsum, Julu, Gubari, Onsum Topale, Julu, Guru Sadi, Chizan Julu Sadi, Topala, Topa said Gogore, Jeba. That did Delia, Dina Carson, Onsum, Julu, Chet, Ganishina, Onsum, the Julu, Topale, said Gogore.
The third and fourth line are objects of experience of your mind, like a myrobalan fruit in the palm of your hand. So for us in English, the fourth line, this then it presents the example Lama Tsongkhapa referred to earlier. And then for us, our third line, objects of experience of your mind. So this expression, objects of experience, we should understand as mean, or experience here, we should understand to mean realize. So, or directly realize rather. So therefore, everything, all objects of knowledge, everything that is that can be known, is directly realized by a Buddha.
Jesu chasa ane jidawa shindo ane dinalaya ane jidang naso said that chabar mangbu yorwa da bene dushine semjen nalayne semjen rimita mira ne kado mirawa su mirawa ane jig mirawa naso ane minduten su nalayne su tamira naso bene en chechung mirawa jig mira si chabar shuje deora o di chasa that sanyi yi wonsum de kingo re ejere Yowa, Ju Semjen. Chiza. Chiza, Dambo de Yoa said, Semjala, Ju Semjalago, then Mioa said, Nuki Jiden, Nuki de la Jiden, but Jiden Semjele, Shembig, Chetelago, and this Chaza, Dine Kever Midoa, Naso, and Shuevene, Chaza, and then was the king of the Heze, than what to see the Sonshana.
Looking at the third verse, as regards phenomena, static or mobile, single or various, each distinct individual. Here again, the phenomena are being divided in another manner. So before we had in terms of the three times in every aspect and origin. Here it's in terms of being static or mobile, single or various, each distinct individual. So again, it's a way of dividing everything that exists and to establish that the Buddha knows all phenomena. So these terms, static or mobile. So mobile refers to that which moves. So the Tibetan literally is moving and unmoving. That which moves has life or is animate. So it refers to sentient beings, or beings rather. Mobile refers to beings, those who have consciousness. Static refers to the inanimate. So that which lacks consciousness. So everything that lacks consciousness or has consciousness, whether in it as a single or as a group, all of this is known perfectly.
Chudiki Yoa was no Guyota, that it is 60 Yoa, the Mios, the Guyota, and Majana, like Yoa said the Guyota, the same gel paja, and the Jan Shigoro. Then Mio said the same gel Shambig shield by Sula Soba Jan Shigoro. Jazan Delia, Yoda Mio Geshe, the Yoa Simjan Jana, and the Digimidoa, and the Sing Dig Yodua, Chudiki Yodua, Lungla Sing, Yoas and the Guyota, like Roa. 제가 단신디게 구겨 당기도 와, 자디게 구겨 당기도 와, 아니 저기 주디게 구겨 당기도 요아래도 와. 제가 대소 안에 제가 요 심절에 저는 지금도 와 선배게 당하주게 되네기 제바지야다 치코랑로도 삼다 제시教养도 되네 제바지야다 고 돌란시야 용으로 와.
So some may well have doubts about this explanation of static and mobile, because if something is being mobile, means that it's animate, it has consciousness, but there are things that move that are inanimate, flowing water. And this particular Tibetan word translated as mobile literally means to move, like the air will move or water flows. So that's literally the word translated here as mobile. So to say it refers to something with consciousness, this seems odd, because trees move, water moves, but they are here being classified under the static, when they certainly are not static. So one may well have some questions about this presentation.
구겨 땅와는 요구도 구겨 땅이면 요구 민두스 요 민두스 요구 민두스 해야지 그래서 요 미여서야 돼 구겨 땅마다 샤고를 지당 직팀 베기시에 지다 디네 삼대 신디게 요구를 그래서 룽구 요구를 와 휴디게 요구 지신 루고도 와 요구를 해서 남민 지당이 지소하나 지당이 딘디게 시고를 와 지다 휴디게 요구 신 요구를 해서 라고 요구도 해야 되와 다데갑들 요다 미여서야 돼 지당 구겨 땅마다 좀 많이 봐 요하셔야 돼 구겨 땅와 좀 많이 봐 미요세데 군에 구교다메가 돼야 디 멤버체 다데도 요세데 간스코스는 삼론 셈 기두기 안에 지 초와도 초위 용어에 토네 안에 구교다 줘야 되라 요하세지 다 초와다 셈을 맞든 배 초와디 메디겐 디니기 안에 되라 미요하세 고 구교다만에 고 초시비기 초위 토네 시비 토네 안에 미요 요구메 반사 콜라 미요하세 공기다 그래서 제가 다데 갑도 요다 미요세디 요세디 줄이자디 완전 군노 초위기 셈기 토네 안에 요구제야디 제바들 가사 인자 가사들 요하셈들 요하세 되네게 안에 신나 지신 라소바 뇌디게 초위된 지당 거랑 요구지거디나 낭시비기 초위기 토네 직 토네 요구제스가 요 말와 In
general, if one comes across the words moving or unmoving, or here static or mobile, this would refer to what we understand in the world. So water flows, trees move in the wind, a hand also waves. So this we'd say are all mobile or moving. But in this context, the meaning is slightly different. It means something that is mobile or animate means that it moves under the influence or under the control of consciousness. It moves through by means of being propelled by consciousness. Whereas the static or inanimate does not move because there's no consciousness moving it. So that is how these terms should be understood here, and why static refers to the inanimate and mobile to the animate.
안다디 요메요세 지당 나남진이 요메요스 구교다마다 지모호와 구유메바지 다들 가서 되네게 셈 소위 돈에 용위 돈에 요하다 소위 용위 돈에 미요와 있는 요메요세 되라고 하시로와 다 되네게 안데서야 다 데스 나라야 다 지다 타디알라 소바 나소다메 유송 시사바시 다 칼라 롱다 규와신 규규 투다 투다 토밍아 세데 제산 칼라 롱다 규와신 세데 저기 bên để trực tiếp cả sẽ bên chỉ lũ lũ na nào lẽ yo mà cái sinh trực tiếp cái gỗ thô gỗ rồi trực tiếp thô chỉ yo mà ta bản nào đông bắc để là lũ đi có yêu rồi ba cái cho nó có bản nào đông bắc để rồi được mà cái yo mà ba có lũ đi cái cho nó đủ gỗ rồi ba chỉ là khá là lũ đó yêu chứ bản nào đông bắc là lũ phá rồi đến đủ gỗ rồi cái suy chỉ cái mắc cái có cao to mấy có đủ gỗ rồi ba cái gì đi nào xin sang gì cái thu đi anh yu 켐발이야 까야 토바스 가요마 까야 요마 바치 요마데 진짜 민가와 도고 토바데 바시 매바자 안디 도고래 무슨 킹거래서 이제 된다듯이 주바지 바래다.
So therefore static and mobile refer to the inanimate and the animate, and these are known, as we see in the second line, whether individually or within a collective, a group, and by their own individual characteristics. In the third and fourth line, your mind is unobstructed from none of them, like the wind moving across the sky. So our mind can be likened to the wind trying to enter into this room, but it will be stopped by the windows and walls and roof. So our mind, or the minds of non-Buddhas, have various obstructions. A Buddha's mind is free of all obstructions, and it can be likened then to the winds moving through the sky, where nothing obstructs the wind. The wind can just continue to move freely.
Xie Songpa dar Samba Wo said, and Dine Songpa Na Shen Chen and Anzu Dushin, San Yi can be Yunden the Semli Dushin, some Dangu is, and the Tango is.
I just missed in the previous segment. This, the Buddha's mind being likened to the moving wind through the sky is likened to the Buddha's mind directly realizing everything. There's nothing that obstructs the direct realization of all phenomena. Then Lama Tsongkhapa concludes, recollect in accordance with these words.
I don't know la Karasam or Sene kissing under Sanjela, Camdros, the conscious of my capsule to be Sanjela capsule to be Camdro Shea. She said that Sanji and the Kuru Dunga Tada Cubi, Nuba, Sulu Yorasena, Sanjela Yore, Sanju Kyoguri, Sembe Sanjela, the Nigi Yishi, Yishi did on the Camdro water. She said that the Nigi Yishi Camdro, the Temple Yoga, Tandalia, and answer to Shin. Sanji Kusung Tusum Yunden, Tushin some Tangores or some time do, then and Sanji can be Yundenda, we in the Sungu in the Kambia, the next door, some big how going to, and Delia and about that, the Niki Joy nobody Sanji do some be easy the temperature.
So to remind ourselves where we are and why we are looking at this. So in the context of the topic of refuge or protecting refuge, in particular in relation to the Buddha. So why do we look here to the Buddha? Because again, as was presented previously, the Buddha has the power to guide one to gain protection from suffering. And this mind that turns to the Buddha for protecting refuge, this is a mind of trust. So the mind of refuge is a mind of trust. The deeper, more heartfelt, more stable that mind of trust is in the Buddha, the deeper, more stable, more heartfelt one's refuge is. So how to generate a deep and abiding refuge is through thinking about the qualities of, in this instance, the Buddha. Because it's through thinking about the qualities, but not just merely recalling them, but reflecting on them to the point where one develops deep and abiding awe of the Buddha. Then one's trust in the guidance from the Buddha will be deep and heartfelt and transformative.
아니 즉 semjel야 판도체를 로바체를 찾아 누버 찾아 여봐 그래서 내 상지 구유인데 되는 지어라 상지 구션이야 되게 감나 매버도 팀고 남바 나서 된제 된제 상지야 도시네 된투워레스 구유권에 강하매 차상 튕긴 마 된투에 누버에 되바체 다 숨구고는 세번에다 상지 송 간에시나 최 간에 송번에 송 두여봐 송 되는 쉬어봐 안직 기에 가리 톤의 송의 송투바 기에 고투고요. 그래서 송구연데 샘jen게 동아시아 다 디교주 탑람 간에시 때문에 된투고 송고 예의라는 강아요 말했어. 당주 도시네 송구연데에서 당주 현대에는 지게 한직기 야구매 기시에 마투와 안에 시에변에 기 지기기라 기지라 지마도 기 현다톤의 시마도바 안에 디디게다 강아 티고로 받아 어디는 연구로 봐. 안디네 아직 나 송다디네 아직 가시래 지게 내 송에도 디게 나와 말어지. 아직 언년년 맞아 봐 연구로 봐. 상기게 될라 되는시매 상기 뒤다. 되니기 전에 송 가라 송보다 송 고용되는 셈나 가랑라자. 될래 돈이게 기용 봐. 이거 송구에 내놓는 되는 시월에서. 당아주 동아세야 디교 탑람 대야기 숭구유에 대여라 숭구유에 투유에 가르세나다 상예이 간에서 킹고를 시장 간에서 띵고도 랍자 간에서 겨우도 람 간에서 곰 주고도 대 간에서 곰나 콜로 판도 채용서 간에서 곰노 고 이야기 들었으면 차상 상이 킹고를 제가 상이 맞긴 맞지 매버레스 지상 상이 캠백이 되는 연대 여바 인상 안에게 말 탑라 탈바다 탐지 김보 고바토비기 탑람 때 동아세게 탑람 땜발라 상일 강아 요 말다데 기가 매발 지상 샤상 땐 두고를 연대 된도 요레스 시도 지나다 동아세게 뉴버드 상이도 상이 겹그리 샘비기 이체디다 예 도도 매바데 아 저기 기투고를 가서는 도도 매바 가브리엘랑 저기 대바 제베네 미샤다 아디 신기어 마치 지지 견주전 남사 아다 인사를 샘비기 미 샘비기 두시네 소수기 하모고와지 이 지기 23 차샤네 두셰베 있나 다 데닉 대바도 교와 친지 도제 교 대벌로야다 도야요 용거로 봐. 다 두시 소수기 구유연된데 삼다 흉나는谢谢 바나이 두시 삼다 제바제 되는 순구 연된데 봐도서 제바제 삼다 김제다 투구 연된데 김제 삼도 제바제도 연된데 통요도 소수기 내번이 용을 다 되네 상jel이야 되는 교빈 누바 상jel도 선배 이시디 다 누바 숙체셔 줘야 마도 도야 매바 자고 제사데 도도 매베 대바세지 되는 거래.
The purpose of this chapter is to develop our mind of trust in the three jewels here, specifically in relation to the Buddha, to develop our mind of trust so that we are open and receptive and therefore can be guided to radically transform our mind and in that way gain protection from suffering. So in terms of going to refuge to the Buddha, we need to become aware of the various qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, and reflect well on them. So, for example, in relation to the qualities of the Buddha's body, reminding ourselves that the Buddha has no physical impediment. There's no impediment to the Buddha physically appearing anywhere or in any form to be of benefit. The Buddha can and does manifest anywhere in whatever manner beings require. On the Buddha side, there is no impediment. And then in terms of the Buddha's speech, the Buddha possesses the quality of being able to communicate flawlessly without hesitation, delay, or impediment. There's no impediment such as language or a communication style that some people may be more receptive to than others. And moreover, the way the Buddha communicates leads to the immediate arisal of delight in all who hears the speech of a Buddha. And the qualities of the Buddha's mind, in particular exalted knowing, which is what we've looked at tonight, is that all objects of knowledge are directly realized. So this expression is perhaps a bit flat, but what it means, all objects of knowledge are directly realized, is everything is directly known to the Buddha, which means the Buddha has faultless understanding of our situation, of our problems, of our difficulties. With this faultless understanding, it's not merely an understanding that our lives are difficult, but the faultless understanding of why our lives are difficult, all the causes that each individual being has individually created since beginningless time. So those are all individual objects of knowledge, all are known. And with that knowledge, and with the wisdom of the Buddha being unobstructed, the Buddha therefore knows the perfect methods and solutions for each individual being to overcome each problem, suffering, and difficulty. And the Buddha knows how to guide beings to overcome these problems in the short term and the long term, or the temporary solutions and the ultimate solution. This is all known to the Buddha. This is the very meaning of knowing all objects of knowledge. So why we need to reflect on this is because we often are either the recipients of others' advice, or we may turn to someone for advice. We have a problem and we want someone's advice for a solution. But to the extent we lack trust in that person, we will listen with some suspicion, some doubt in our mind. And in terms of following that advice, we'll have hesitation. So we may like the person, we may trust them, their advice may be well-intentioned, and perhaps not only well-intentioned, but their advice is actually in this instance flawless. So following it would be the wise thing to do. But because our trust is limited, also our knowledge is limited, we will be hesitant. We'll have doubts. So this, in terms of the Buddha, we need to overcome, to be truly receptive to his intervention and guidance. So this is the very purpose here. The very purpose is to come to rely on the Buddha, recognizing that he has perfect knowledge of our problems, their causes, and their solutions.
Then Denigi, that Jevache, Sanyu Yundin Digi, Dus in the Jevache, so Sugi, Lobjong, Dan Jeva Kasi, Yundan Che, Yundan, Sanyu Yundin, Dile, Yundan Che, Tontu Gorich, Shishi Yundan, Kempe Yundan Digi, Chasan Sungu Yundan. Yuma Rushin, Ajik Shara, Tontu Goma. Ele Lobjong, Kalagansam, Chi, all that did, and Dile Kabat Papa, and to be. Bendigo to do that generation design that toilet that there's just how to go marva. And daily lam yamlin chicken that Jita Jambala Sobata, or the lam yamlin chicken sign in the delay catcher to go. Daily and Jashu Semba, Ya Tobacon, you're going to pay the Jashu Semba Papa, the Niki Sachuba, Yabokuba, Sachuba, this week. In that delay hobby sign in the catcher to go.
It's difficult for us to really perceive just how different a Buddha is from ourselves. Because across lifetimes, we've made effort to learn things, and even now when we learn something new, there's perhaps a bit of excitement at having something that was previously unknown, now to be being known to one. And a bit of excitement, maybe we want to tell others. But for Buddha, all of this has long since been known. Everything is known. And there's no, and by known in this context, we should understand it means directly realized. So we may know things, but there are still veils of a lack of knowledge in that field. So we may be knowledgeable in a field, but we are not perfected. Our knowledge in that field is not perfected. For a Buddha, it is, and in every field. So it's in the same way that it's difficult for us to really perceive what a Buddha is like compared to ourselves. Even the great beings in the worlds, beings such as bodhisattvas, Arya bodhisattvas, Arhats, and even the Arya bodhisattvas on the pure grounds, even they cannot be likened to a Buddha. Even their incredible qualities cannot be likened to that of a Buddha. And thereby, the benefit they can give is nothing compared to that which a Buddha can give, because their knowledge is still obstructed, obscured, or veiled in some way. And therefore, their understanding of the causes of our problems, the solutions to our problems, there are limits. But for a Buddha, all those limits have been eradicated.
And sung yuan de do shang samata do shi jen jen sanje se de the gu yuan de sam yin mi jia ba xie ya sung yuan de sam yin mi jia tu yuan de sam yin mi jia re do sam du che sam dan sang ye ya ji de ba di xiu xi li wo da sang ye le yi xie da de ba li wo ji za da sang yi che su zhen bi ge sang yi che su zhen ba sa da ji za de ge wa ba to me ba sa go che sang yi che su zhen ba xue che su zhen ba gi ni che su zhen ba sa yo ba da de ne ge sang yi che su zhen ba cha wo ji za di ge to ne Dine Sangye Yende, oh, that Dine Pea or the Dile give a new Sangye do to Yishi type how pair. And so in out that Dine Sangye and the Dinish Dinaji and the data them, but Nayan did Naji Toba chicken, Dinaji Toba chicken Sembig, that same should get. Just that Dine is a Sanji Yuku and the Sungi and the two and the Yipa change Java Shimshe, the Yende Toido, or the Yende Dinaji, Toba chicken, Toba show, Sibe sometimes, just like you go about Toba show, some which I use some Yigo or water. Is that the negate Yende Dinaji, Yende Sanjoko, Dinijing, Toba chicken, Sibe sometimes, just use some Gigo or Kungorwa, Dinio. Is it Dine that Pay Dinigi Tembaina, a paying bottom of Pasaya, Suzuki. And Delia, Dunye Tumba, Shukcher Troya, Sangelia, Deba Timber Troya, Demba de Rudu, then the Sangi you soon begin, Labjel, Labialia, Dunye Tumba, the Shukcher, you go, the Inzaduction, and the chicken Sungo becomes a root, answered the Yagi Troya.
I want to encourage you to reflect on the inconceivable qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So these qualities, this use of the word inconceivable is not just a mere a polite expression, but the qualities of Buddhas are inconceivable to us. But to the extent that we have knowledge and we can understand the qualities of the Buddha, I encourage you to reflect on those qualities. Because by doing so, it will strengthen your heartfelt faith in the Buddha. And this leads to the accumulation of so much merit. But even more importantly is that it leads to the development of trust. This heartfelt trust and receptiveness. This is imperative. It's imperative for many reasons, but I'll highlight one right now. By being inspired by what a Buddha is and what a Buddha therefore can do, that is required to give rise to a determination within you to become a Buddha yourself, to become a Buddha so as to guide all beings to a state freed of suffering. To give rise to this mind of bodhicitta requires many excellent qualities, some of which include a deep understanding and rejection of suffering and its causes. But also, one requires a deep understanding of the qualities of a Buddha so that one has the wish not merely for oneself to be freed of suffering and a thought of how nice it would be if others were freed of suffering, but whereby one understands just what a Buddha is and what becoming a Buddha means to others, means to one's wish for all beings to be freed of suffering. So therefore, if you hold the aspiration to become a bodhisattva, these meditations on refuge are indispensable. This is the entry point to come to understand more clearly just how remarkable Buddhas are, and thereby give you this courage and strength of mind to give rise to a genuine wish. I also want to become a Buddha. In fact, I have to be. So there's so much benefit that follows from this meditation. So I encourage you, engage in this reflection, because it's indispensable to develop this determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others. In other words, bodhicitta.
Dina Shijing, Yanyam, Jigi, Sebeke, Samakia, and the Sanjiki, the Labjalia, the Nigga Sanji, Sonsia Batelia, Labjatelem, Jigin, Sembe, some died that, and Jigi Chimpinium, and Sujing, and Sweeping, Passion to Yam, Leon, Jesa Sanji, soon be Jubin, Labjal, Jamdre, Labjeti, Labje, the Zunyam, Tarshim, Jigi, Sembe, Samia, Labja Caressene. Yeje de Surum Sungur, Sevok Mortunism was said it was Lucian in Yamnachi, that Semshul Masona, Mazuki, that Ligo, just that Dineza, that Dinigi, Sanji, Kuson, Tuzu, Yende, Ba, Shedu, Mazu, and then to get Dena Dina Shenchikon Jig Sanjile, Deba Demutoya, Sanji, Sumba Labjalia, Labia Tunyu Dumbatia, and Sanji Guyen Dana, Kusun Yundin Dina, Asia San Yoko, Dinaji, Toba Chicken Sibe, Chanju Sem, Jaya, Lucy as some diety, or Jezadine Zadigi, Ma Sumbiki, Jebul Maswada, Manzuki, Dusene, and Tumde, some down with the Chagore.
So as is always the case, this meditation is one of analysis, an analytical meditation. Here, the particular topic I'm encouraging you now to translate for these periods of weeks that we're covering this chapter is on the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So in the last fortnight, we had the opportunity to reflect on the qualities of the Buddha's body and speech, and now we add to that the mind, in particular, the qualities of his exalted knowing. So I want to encourage you to engage in these meditations in the sequence that we move through the text, and not only to engage in meditation topics that draw you. Because here, in terms of meditating on the qualities of the Buddha, this is imperative to develop your trust and your faith in the Buddha. And why this is so important is because it's through developing faith in the three jewels that will aid our letting go of what is unimportant. All these unimportant things that fill our minds so, to let go of that and rather embrace what is important. This transformation requires many causes, of which a pivotal one is the mind of refuge, where a mind of deep refuge will trust the advice of the Buddha. And therefore, when the advice is to let go of what's unimportant and embrace the Dharma, that which has importance, one will have the strength of mind to do so. And this is that letting go of what's unimportant and embracing what is important is an indispensable prerequisite to engage in all the later trainings, those that will still be presented in the text. So shortly, in the coming weeks, we'll come to the various trainings of refuge, which are there, or precepts of refuge, which are there to help us in this cultivation of deep abiding refuge. And where this trust is required later is by letting go of what's unimportant, embracing what's important, those indispensable qualities of generosity, a mind of ethical restraint, minds of patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. These, finally, one will be able to develop in a way that is both powerful and abides. So if one looks at one's training of one's mind, and recognizes that perhaps it's not where ideally after these years you'd like it to be, is these preliminary practices that we are covering. It's these that you need to focus on to develop the foundation for which all great qualities later will arise. So I say this to encourage you to engage in this meditation, to point out very explicitly the benefits of this meditation, to encourage you to do so. With every meditation topic, there are many points in terms of how to meditate that carry across the topics. So when you meditate on something such as this, such as refuge, generate a clear understanding of the benefits of doing so that you want to engage in it. And then when you do so, intentionally recognize, I've done something important. And afterwards, when you dedicate and you look back, rejoice in what you are doing. This is imperative because it aids the continuity of engaging in these meditations. And so when you do so, when you look at the benefits, include the goals that appeal to you most, whether they are goals of bodhicitta or calm abiding or enlightenment, whatever it is that it appeals to you, recognize that these are the preliminaries to those great goals. And do this to make your mind positive, because the positive mind is a determined mind, and a mind that will engage in these practices repeatedly over a sustained period. So thank you. Thank you. We'll conclude there for tonight.